Hmm. I don't know why I can't get this working right on the YouTube streaming. Because I can see the chat's connected on OBS, but I don't see um, the stream on YouTube. It's so weird. So while people join, I just quickly want to fiddle around on my YouTube studio quickly and see if I can figure this out. It's very strange. Very strange. Back to studio. Just say go live. Ah, there we go. I can actually see it there. Okay, I figured out where to find it. So it's actually like another management section on YouTube for it. I can actually see there's quite a few of you guys already. So hello, welcome to the stream. It's just going to be another fun little lab where we continue some stuff off. So I think I actually want to play around with some Wireguard as well, because apparently somebody said it's changed a lot, but I can't really fathom that it's changed that much on MikroTik. I mean, maybe a few things look a little different, but the Wireguard protocol is the Wireguard protocol, so it should in essence just work the same regardless. Alright, so let's head into our little topology. I'm just going to minimize my YouTube stuff and look at OBS. Alright, so let's log on here, admin, Eve. And there's a nice little topology. It's quite bright, quite blasting if I look at myself in the camera. Maybe we should turn on dark mode. Although, you know, I've got my reservations with dark mode as well, because it looks nice if I've got like this white block in the middle. So I suppose I can leave that on. Let's just turn on all of these nodes. I mean, like I said, it's also just maybe quicker to just do it from this side, start all our nodes, get them up and running, and then we can do a few more tests. I think on the last episode of Dragon Ball Z, we had our provider edge 3 and 4 basically just configured, but we haven't actually done any BGP or, you know, like maybe some failover type of setup, because maybe the customer has multiple links and you maybe just want to have some way for traffic to fail over, obviously. So I think that's something I'd like to test out as well. Just that failover functionality, using that with BGP as well. We might play around with some route filters, obviously, because we maybe want to just set, you know, some attributes so that one route is preferred over the other. And yeah, like I mentioned, Wireguard, I want to check that out as well, because people are telling me I need to check it out. Downloads. I'm just gonna whine onto Winbox quickly. And let's have a look-see. Neighbors. Connect onto the Romon. And let's maybe just get onto the 1CE. Even though technically I'm not going to start with Wireguard now, I just want to have a quick look-see. I mean, I can see, yeah, cool, they've changed it, that it's the Wireguard icon there. Still looks fairly straightforward to me. You've got a Wireguard interface and you've got your peers that you define. So nothing really changed there. I like this new Wireguard import button. I'm sure this is more or less like if you get like Wireguard from a VPN service, maybe like Mulvad, you know, you get this Wireguard file that you can export. Obviously, like with the Wireguard program as well, you can export a profile and just import it. I'm sure this is what this function does, so something to test out. Might be interesting, but it just makes the setup a lot easier if you just quickly want to configure some Wireguard stuff. Interface still looks pretty basic to me. Peers. There's a few more things here. This is definitely different. I don't recall this client address and DNS and stuff being here before. Don't remember this responder option being here. So yeah, there's definitely a few more changes, but I think there's a lot of stuff that's kind of just like default that we can kind of skip. All right. Cool. So I'm going to just continue on with my little BGP lab and do the failover bit. So from CE1, I don't know if I've configured this actual link yet. So let's just quickly have a look-see. Back onto Winbox. IP address. No, I haven't. Which interface is that coming in on? Ether 2. Oh, okay, I see what I did. So I kind of just made Ether 2 like I don't want to say a LAN port. I'm just going to move that to Ether 3 because this is just kind of like the LAN address that we're testing stuff from. And then what I'm going to do now is just add this other WAN IP. So I think it's also like a 172.29 something. So 172.29.200.2. That's what I'll make it, 172.29.202/30 on Ether 2. I wonder, did I do the PE's IP addressing? Maybe. Let's quickly test 172.29.200.1. I did. Alright, cool. So that's up and running. That's really just an IP address. We should probably just add some BGP into the core network or into the provider network as well. So routing, BGP export. Quick and easy to just, you know, steal this config and amend it or adjust it for our new role. I think maybe I want to also just change this naming a little bit so it makes more sense. If somebody else ever looked at the config, they know kind of what's going on. I'd say that's always best like practice to do. Make some type of comment, say what stuff is doing. So let's just set this name. It can still be CE1 to PE1 or whatever, but I might add something like primary. And all that does now is people, when they look at this from the outside, they can see, hey, this should probably be like the primary link for this connectivity. And then we can just go our routing. I might just copy this into a notepad quickly and then paste it. Do I have Notepad++ running? I recall I installed this last time as well, which is quite nice. I really like Notepad++. It's such a fun GUI. Why is this not having the style I added last time? What did I use last time? Not that. It wasn't this dark mode. It was a little bit. Maybe it was this. Yeah, let's just leave it as this. This looks fine. Just so that you guys don't get your eyes burned out, because I know that just like a pure white screen can kind of burn out your eyeballs. That's why I've got like astigmatism where my one eye isn't working that well anymore, and I've got stuff like floaters or whatever. It's really weird. Getting old sucks. Anyways, let's continue. I just quickly want to do a quick audio test. Can you guys actually hear me? If somebody could just respond to the chat maybe, because I haven't actually seen anything in the chat, which is fine if people are just watching, you know, you're just watching. All right, cool, awesome. I just really wanted to make sure that I'm not just like talking to myself, or, you know, sometimes the microphone might be off and then, you know, I'm just like yapping and people are not actually seeing or hearing me. That didn't copy across, so let's just grab this again, grab it again, wrong notepad, discard that, pop in here, paste in there. Okay, let's adjust this as we want. So I already know 172.29.200.2, and this will be CE1 to P3. Let's make the name secondary. Output network is BGP out, which is fine. Then we've got our remote address equals 172.29.200.1. I'm going to use the same AS. Like nothing really changes. It's all technically kind of the same. It's like back in the day when you on version 6, you'd create like a instance, a BGP instance, and you could assign it to like your data or your voice VRF or whatever. It's kind of the same principle. So let's just pop this into our CE1. And let's just export, just make sure this looks fine. It does. And if I now just add this on PE3, I might cause some slight issues, but shouldn't be anything we can't fix. So it's all good. PE3. Close all this. And since we're on Winbox, actually I could have just also, you know, been cheeky and just copied the connection like such. So you can just come in here, copy it, paste. Hang on, I can't do that because this is just a connection to the route reflector, so that's not really going to do what I wanted to do. Never mind. It would work well if I was still on PE. Is it PE? Hang on. Yeah, it is PE1, PE3. Alright, we're fine. So I can just make this PE3 to CE1. I don't really want to define what is on the provider network, even though you can still do it there as well. Maybe it's still best practice to do that. And then what is our ASN? 64510, I think. AFI, this is just IP, but if I leave it blank, it's still just IP. I'm not going to worry too much. Actually, I can set my router ID as the WAN IP for this connection, which is 172.29.200.1. And I can just copy paste that as my local address. EBGP this. Remote AS 300. Remote address .2. And importantly, I also just want to not redistribute, I want to do a default originate. And I don't remember if I've actually done the VRF stuff on the PE3 and what is it, is it 3 and 4? I think it's 3 and 4. Let's just apply. I just want to see what actually happens here. All right, so the session just came up. So I haven't actually done the VRF portion yet, which we can do just now, which is fine. I mean, interesting enough now, if we have a look at the main routing table, well, that's the only routing table we have, is we should be learning that customer prefix from the customer edge, which we do. 192.168.10.0/24 via that gateway. And if we look at the CE, very interesting, we've got 2 BGP routes. Now here's where it's interesting. Even though this BGP neighbor was configured first, the one that's currently blue and inactive, this other one just kind of hijacked the BGP connection or the default route or route. And we can click on it, double click on it, we can have a look at some of the BGP metrics. It's alright, Milan. I know that BGP is like a... It's heavy stuff. I mean, it kind of feels like you're the scientist and it's this heavy like weaponry or machine gun or something weird, you know, it's like kind of insane. Use last live to config x2. Okay, that's pretty nice, Joseph. Yes, that could work fine. 2116, or I should just say 2116. That's usually how people would name that. Made that the route reflector and APE. Pretty solid. But I think my question is, does anybody know why this second peer that I configured, why did this decide to become the active name, or why is this default route preferred over the other one? I think that's a pretty good question to ask. Why is one more important than the other one? And remember, we've just brought up 2 BGP neighbors. There's no filters or anything involved now, so why is this now doing this? And I don't want to feel like I'm giving you guys a pop quiz or anything. It's just like an interesting thing to think about. Yeah, this A. So why does this route that I've got selected there, this black When it's black like this, it's an active route, but the A definitely shows you that this is a preferred route. This is what the custom edge, this router is going to choose when it wants to push out traffic to like the internet, let's say. But this is the second connection that we configured. So I'm wondering, why did this second connection, even though there was already one active and working, why did the second one kind of just take it over? And interesting enough, so the local preference in essence should be exactly the same, since both devices, like I said, we haven't tweaked anything with the filters yet. It's just basically, they're both identical. There's just a few changes like their IP addresses. And I think that kind of gives the hint away. And Joseph is on the kind of on the correct thing there. Like I don't think it's the MAC address. I think it's almost the IP address that's just lower, because this is a lower IP address. Let's just quickly make sure before it seems like I'm talking before it seems like I'm talking complete utter rubbish. But if we have a look at the BGP best path selection on MikroTik, which path is going to be chosen? It should be more at the bottom, I think. Best path selection. And remember, with BGP, it's always going to follow this path, like this thing with MikroTik specifically, but all vendors have some best path selection with their BGP. Because what does BGP really do? Like, BGP is there to figure out a path across the network, the best path, like which path has the least amount of hops, so to speak. So if we look at this, first you can see it's going to look at stuff like the weight, and then the local preference, and then the AS path, and then stuff like the origin. That's pretty normal. Then we've got our MED. It will prefer eBGP over iBGP. Oh, there we go. This should be what is doing that for us. So prefer the route that comes from the BGP router with the lowest router ID. If the route carries the originator ID attribute, then the originator ID is used instead of router ID. Originator ID is used widely across many different vendors as well, and kind of functions like the router ID anyways. So this is pretty cool. So that kind of answers the question as well. It's just that if I look at the BGP connection, that top one was the primary, was the first one that was configured. But like I said, we've got no filters applied. The only differences is really the IP addresses. Even the ASs and stuff is the same. So core difference is our IPs and the router IDs. Although I see I didn't have the router ID set on this one. Let's quickly set it just to be safe. But I think the router ID gets populated automatically anyways. Just grab that, pop that in there. I mean, typically the router ID will also just get pulled out from the loopback address, if there is a loopback address. And there is one here. What did I use that loopback address for? 172.30.09. I don't even know. What did I test? I'm getting lost with that. Alright. But it's cool that we could figure that out. Why is this one default route preferred over the other one? Now, I just quickly want to do the setup on PE3 and 4 quickly. And when I say I want to do the setup, I mean I just want to span layer 3 VPN from PE3 and 4 across this provider network, so that if I bring the customer services in, that it's inside that VRF, so that the customer stuff can just like start working and talking to each other, so we don't need to like struggle from the provider network side. But this setup is going to be really quick and easy. I think I've already got sessions set up to the route reflector. So all I really need is a VRF. How do you guys say VRF? Do you say VRF or do you say VRF? I've heard a lot of people say VRF. like VERF. Call this cust1. Which interface did I bind? Ether2. It's the same on both ends, so Ether2. And now I can just quickly grab this BGP session or connection, just update that it is inside the customer 1 VRF and routing table. And the session should just come back up. I hope it should. Can't see why it wouldn't. There we go. And now that our session is up, we just need to quickly span the BGP service on this VPN tab. Well, I should say the layer 3 VPN service. And this was 64510:1 for customer 1. And we can just redistribute our connected and BGP learned routes. And we'll do this per VRF for the label allocation, apply that. Here is an interesting one though. What's this going to do to, let's say, PE2? Because PE2 was already learning the 192.168.10 prefix from PE1 via the route reflector. In theory, it should also learn that route from PE3. But here's where, BGP and base path selection comes into play again. So let's jump onto PE2. I can just do this from the command line quickly. Admin, I don't remember if there's a password on this. There is. So if we do a routing route, let's just print this. I can see I'm learning 192.168.10.0/24. Let's do a IP route print where routing table equals cust1. So I'm only learning this one route at the moment. Interesting. Let's just quickly go back to PE3. I just want to have a look at the routing table from here. Cust1. I'm not learning any of the other routes. Let me just quickly make sure I do have the other settings correct. So BGP VPN. Did I specify the VRF? I don't think I specified the VRF with the BGP VPN. No, I didn't. Duh. That's my issue. So this VRF is in the wrong VRF. So if I look at my routes now, there we go. That's pretty interesting. And more interesting is, let's go back to that command line and see, am I learning multiple routes? Now, I'm still just learning the one there. Let me just do a quick route print. Actually, just route customer 1. No, I actually want to have a look at the routing route print. So I'm learning the route of the connected interface. So if I go into PE3, the directly connected route for 172.29.200.0/30, which is fine, but I'm not seeing this 192.168.10 route. Let's do an interesting test on CE1. I'm just going to disable the BGP connection for this primary link, so that technically only PE3 should be receiving 192.168.10.0/24. And then let's see what PE2 does now. What does it think? That looks like it updated to me. All right, that's quite interesting. I actually think that has to do with the route reflector. So the route reflector must then be deciding which routes are technically the better ones, and then advertising that to its peers. So let's just re-enable the CE1, and then let's look at the route reflector. It's pretty cool. Connect, and let's go into our route reflector 1. And now I'm sure we'll see the routes on the route reflector. Although you won't see it like in the routing table here. It's it's not going to be there. I'm going to have to maybe go into the routing, route print. And there I can see it. Yes, that's exactly what's happening. That's awesome. Thanks for your videos, by the way. It made me way better at networking. I never studied such a thing, and now I have my own ASN and data. That's awesome. That's awesome, Hugo. Like, I'm jealous of that. That's really, really cool. Congratulations. Because I wish I just knew. I was also in the same boat. I wish, like, not to like toot my own horn or something, but I wish like there were more open networking people, like network engineers, that's not like paywalling everything the whole time, that showcase the stuff, because the information is there. And don't get me wrong, there is definitely a lot of people that freely share knowledge, but there's a lot of, you know, sensation chasers as well that just hop on the bandwagon and only do what's cool instead of, you know, what's going to be interesting. I shouldn't phrase it that way. Everything is interesting. But, you know, I love networking. I'm a network engineer. It's what I do. It's my passion. That besides gaming and network engineering, like that's me in a rock, and that's what I should say. That's me in a nutshell. But yeah, what I'm talking about is there's. I'm not gonna give a channel specifically, but you'll see like people, they'll do some networking stuff, and then suddenly they'll just switch their content to like cybersecurity because they see it's like grabbing views or whatever. And then, you know, they follow this YouTube formula, and I don't really like that. That's maybe why my channel doesn't take off as much, but I'd rather keep it as things that I find interesting and that I enjoy like showcasing, because it feels more better for me. But it is really impressive that you got your own ASN and everything sorted out. That's really awesome. Okay, but again, back on point, we discovered now as well, our route reflector does learn the routes, and all it's doing is it's doing the same thing with BGP. It's choosing the best path towards any given prefix, and then it's just advertising that to the corresponding peer. So that's why when I have a look at PE2 only sees this route as being valid, where the gateway is .5. And then if I disable that PE2 BGP session, then we can see this other route took over that goes to .7, which is pretty cool. And obviously we can tweak this stuff as well. We could tweak it here. We can tweak how the route reflector receives this, because obviously BGP routes, they have attributes attached to them. So you can tweak what happens with the routes based off of what attributes you bind to the prefixes. All right. So technically we do have the ability to fail over now, but we're still not really doing it correctly. So in theory, although it's kind of working fine from the provider network side, where it is preferring the route from PE2 as the primary route, just again because of that being the lower address, we could definitely enforce this with some route filters. So let's start with the customer edge actually. So on CE1, I firstly want to define that, oh, now it's even doing ECMP. This isn't fun. Although it might work, but it's not really what we want. What I want to happen is I want 172.29.254.1 to always be the primary. Hang on, I've just got like a YouTube ad. I just want to, I can't skip it. I don't know why it does it. YouTube's very aggressive with ads in this country where I'm at the moment. Lots of unskippable 30 seconds. I've even had like a minute long ad once. It's crazy, man. No, it is definitely a money sinkhole. All right, so let's go and quickly just tweak some stuff. I'm gonna have to quickly relearn the route filtering on MikroTik since I haven't added a route filter in a very long time. I'm sure you just go into routing filters. Should be pretty straightforward. There you've got your rule, and then we can set stuff like our community stuff. But we just want to create a new rule. Chain, I could probably just call this primary. And then this is where I'm going to need to have a look at the documentation quickly. So hop onto the MikroTik docs. Let's have a look at our filters. Route selection and filters. That's exactly where we were just now. So it should be something like this: if matches actions else. And I think MikroTik does have a quick example. Well, there is one there, but that's not really what I want. There's some community lists. I think the documentation that helped me understand route filters the best, even though MikroTik does it really well, to be honest, because there's a pretty good one. You can do stuff like if the destination is this, then we could do stuff like set the distance, and that's one thing we could do. It's maybe set a lower distance for the one BGP route, but we definitely want to tweak some more stuff with the attributes as well. So I think it almost works better from the command line, if I remember correctly. So hang on, let's just go into the terminal. And if I remember, you can do stuff like routing filter rule add chain equals primary rule equals, because with the command line you can actually tab for some, suggestive comments or suggestive commands. Here we can see, we can say if, and now we can if destination, what's this? Is this like equals equals? If the destination equals, let's make it the default route. We do want to accept that. No, that's not exactly how I want to do that. We want to set. Yeah, this is what we want to do. We do want to set a few things. One thing I might set is just the distance. Oh, but there's two distances. I remember this. This is actually going to be a bit confusing. Oh, I know what I'm thinking of. Okay, so distance I think is fine. We can just set the distance 5. How do we end this? Oh, there we go. And set BGP dash. Here we can set a weight. That could work well. Or we could set maybe like a local preference. If I remember correctly, with weight, it's the route with the higher weight is preferred. So let's just set a weight maybe. Set that for 2000. Sounds pretty good. Oh, and 2000. And we want to accept. All right, let's quickly have a look and see if this filter looks, no, it's moaning about something. Do you accept it at the end like that. Doesn't look right to me. Let's just check the filters. All right. So quickest way to fix this is just go to the actual documentation I wanted to go onto anyways. So Rick Frey route filters. He did a pretty good job creating the spreadsheet long ago, but it's still relevant to our use case. So we could just maybe find the BGP, say distance. It looks kind of similar to what we just had, but that's fine. It looks very similar to how we had it. Let's pop back on here. What am I doing wrong? Routing filter rule add chain primary rule. I think you are absolutely right. The double quote. You see, I would be a terrible programmer, except let's just have a look at the rule now. Does it actually show it? Yes, it does. I think I can actually just scale that down a little bit like that. There we go. So we've got a primary, and I could maybe do a secondary. Same thing if the distance equals that. We don't need to set the distance because we'll keep it as 20, which is the default on MikroTik, but we might set the weight to like 1,000, so it's just a lower weight. So now let's apply these to our BGP connections. So routing BGP connection CE1 to PE1 primary, and we can do this from our filters. Input filter primary, apply that. It's interesting to see if it takes effect immediately, and it does. There we can see the distance is 5, and it's just good to maybe tweak the distance so you can obviously instantly see which route is being preferred as well. It's just something I like to do. But then if you look at like the BGP attribute, there you can see it's adjusted the weight as well, which is kind of important. But weight, I think, is only relevant, and stuff like local preference is only relevant to the node itself. It's not an attribute that gets like shifted through the whole network. But let's have a look here. We've got that done. Let's just apply the secondary filter as well. Yeah, med is med, but med is very interesting because let's say you've got two links going to two separate provider edges, just like this. If I go back onto the right topology file, just like this, like from customer edge 1 to PE2 or PE3 and PE1, and obviously it has to be to the same AS. So the AS kind of will be able to make use of that med statement, and this is where you'd use med for. So we might even use med on the provider edges as well, because we can actually advertise that out with a specific med when we advertise our network out. That's like the whole point of it. That's a cool bit. So let's jump back here. Our input filter is secondary. Apply that. All right, so that should fix up our failover scenario for our customer. But it's just from their side now. It's not from the provider edge. But if we do a nice little ping to maybe 192.168, what's it? I think they're 20.1. And let's just source it from 10.1, which is P1's LAN IP. Now, the fun bit. Let's break the link quickly. So let's imagine the link went off on PE1. And there's a few ways I can simulate this. I guess the quickest way would just be to go into it and disable the BGP session. Reason being is, if I just break this link, it might not immediately understand that because of stuff like hold timers and whatnot. So let's just quickly head into PE1. Oh, come on. Admin. Did I not set a password for this one? No, I didn't. It's fine. So routing, BGP connection print. So there we've got a PE1 to CE1, which is line 1. So we can do something like a routing BGP connection disable 1. No, not exclamation. And if I go back onto the CE1, whoa. We can see the one session is off. We can see our routes have updated to only go to the PE3. And very interesting, did we even pick up that anything dropped? We didn't even see that a packet dropped. That's how quick the failover was in that scenario. But that's only because I killed the BGP session, so it immediately just failed over to the next session. But that's how fast the protocol runs. That's so awesome. That's really so good. And we can test that it actually does work. Again, let's just re-enable this. And let's do the ping, and it should fail now. Actually, no, it's going to work, obviously, because I literally just re-enabled it. Let's just disable it again. What I meant to do was disable PE3 on its connection to the customer edge. And now, if we ping, it should just fail, obviously, because there's no route. Network Startup Resource Center, it was great. You're definitely allowed. You're definitely allowed. I think the more we share resources, the better for everybody. All right, so that's perfect, guys. This works. Failover achieved. But that's just for the customer edge 1. Customer edge 2 we need to do, and like I said, we still need to do some stuff in the service provider network as well. It's not just lock and load and off we go. So, hey Nicola. CE2. Am I quickly just going to do the CE2 setup as well? It should be a quick setup. I mean, it's almost just a copy and paste, to be honest. Yeah, let's quickly do the CE2. Should just be quick. Admin. Do a quick export here. Do a quick copy here. I can do this perfectly on Cisco router, but it looks different on MarketTech. Yeah, don't worry. It looks very different on MarketTech. On V6, that works well. I think I know what you mean. I haven't tried redistributing a default route with BGP. I could give it a whirl and see if it works. I just want to finish off this portion of the setup though. Routing BGP connection. I think this name... Oh, I think I copied. Something looks off there. The name is wrong. Okay. Let's just fix the name quickly. Routing, BGP, connection, set name. And there should be CE2, but we can also just make this primary for line item 0. And I just quickly want to put on some other music. Apologies. And I need to get like I think I want to get It's so weird because I've got an arm for my secondary screen, so it sits well with my eye level. And then this screen that I'm actually doing the work on, you can see I'm like tilting my head down. It's actually messing my neck up so badly. At least I'm not on this machine 24/7, so that's the good bit. What was that? Shad remix. Time to swap windows. Yeah. Look, I could do that. I could actually just stream with the secondary screen and probably just mount the camera there. But the annoying bit is where I've mounted the arm underneath the table, it's got like this place where the computer stands, so I can't pull a chair in there. This table, it's good in length, but it's got some limitations for me. Alright, anyways, enough of my moaning about a table. Let's try and sort out this configuration. So before I think I had the naming wrong still. Yes, I did. This was to PE2. Okay, so we fixed that. And I think this is this also just 200s? So 200.6, yeah. 200.6. Remote address 200.5. Yeah. All right, let me just quickly paste that into my C2. Export this, and that looks all right to me. Although maybe I should add my route filters quickly. So route, just go back, routing, filter, rule, add, chain, primary, rule equals if. Then we can say if destination equals the default route. Then we can square bracket this, and we can say we want to set distance 5, and maybe we want to set BGP dash weight 2000 and want to accept. Oh, I forgot the quote mark again. Gonna get me in so much trouble. And let's set the weight to 1000, leave the set distance alone for a secondary route. Call the secondary. And let's just look routing, filter, rule, print. There we go. We can see that first one. Can just delete that. So routing, filter, remove. Where's our rule remove 0. Print it. There we go. All right, let's just apply our route filters quickly. So routing, BGP, connection, print. I messed up the naming for the second one as well, because that should be to PE4. So let's just quickly set that as well. Set name C2 to PE4, and our input filter. This is secondary. And then routing, BGP connection, set input filter primary for 0. And if I do a route print or IP route print, we can already see that that's been updated. And I think if you do a print detail, it shows you stuff like, no, this only shows us the distance. I know for a fact you could see the BGP details as well. Where was that? Where destination? Because this is giving us this information. Although I don't think I've tweaked anything from the... No, but I should be able to see the weight since I've set that as well. What am I missing? Maybe in the routing. Routing, route, print detail. I think this might be it. Maybe. No. Should be that first route. There we go. Yes, this is it. So this is kind of, I've been doing this routing route print stuff for a bit now. But this is where they've updated, where you can see stuff like, whoa, my window freaked out there. But this is where we can see stuff like, you know, the origin and the weight and what have you. Yeah, that's right. So I've done CE2. Let's just quickly do PE4 setup. Admin, I think this blank. Yeah, it is. Export. Just want to see what's going on quickly. Also just a route reflector connection at the moment. So three things I want to do on the PE4 quickly. Firstly, IP route VRF or IPVRF. IPVRF add name cust1 interface ether2. Next step is add the BGP. So routing BGP connection. Add name PE4 to CE2 secondary. Our AS is 64510. Our router ID, I'm just going to keep this as my WAN IP in this instance. So that was 172.29. Was it 172.29? What was it? 172.29 200.5. Yeah. If I move the stream 2 hours later, then unfortunately it's not going to work for me then, unfortunately. Yeah. The thing is, I'm literally just streaming right after I put my son to bed, and then I kind of like sneak into bed before midnight as well. So there's not really much space to move the stream to, even if I moved it to another day. Router ID is .5. Our stuff I also want to have a look at this add path, but we'll take a look at that later. Firstly, we want to use a routing table is cust1, VRF is cust1. Our local address, I'm going to make that my WAN IP as well. My local role is eBGP. Remote AS is 300. What else did we have? I want a default originate, so that's output.default-originate always. Oh, remote address. I need to specify 172.29.200.6. Anything else? Local ports, no. Looks all good to me. Enter. And then what I could do now is a routing BGP session. Just make sure it's up. I don't see the session yet. Let's just see, can I ping across quickly? 200.6. No. I've got a feeling I haven't added the IP to CE2 yet. So let's just have a look. CE2. I swear I was in it on command line. All right, let's just go back. Oh, so it freaked out a bit. IP address print. No, I haven't added the IP address yet. Let's just move this other IP address set. IP address set. IP address set. Interface ether3 for line item 1. And then let's just add our new IP address. Anyone here using 7.14.3 for BGP ed routing? No, unfortunately I don't, but I saw a few other people using BGP, so maybe one of them. 2 million routes. That's quite a lot of routes. Is that from multiple transit providers? I mean, last time I had a look, like internet routing tables, like 850, maybe 900,000 routes a pop. Oh, you got 3 full feeds. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. IP address, add address. 200.6 on ether2. Okay, let's just print. I'm pretty sure the session will work now. So if I do a routing BGP session print, awesome, it is up. And if I look at my routes, my primary is this one. Okay, so we are good. Oh no, really? That sucks. I thought loopback, like a integrated loopback address, was supposed to make life easier. I don't, we've discussed it a few times on the stream. I mean, I like it, but I can also see why some people don't like it. Oh, and on that point, when it comes to software, it is very important. Even though I'm in this is just a lab, we don't know the full extent of how well stuff actually works. If I was to receive such a big feed, how things would actually, function. And on that note, when we started this lab out, there was so much stuff that didn't work. I couldn't make the layer 3 VPN work, even though it had exactly the same configuration. It just didn't want to work with the same software version 7.15, but it was beta 9 that we were using. And the moment the release candidate 2 came up and I moved the config over to that, the setup works. So different software builds or different builds, it sucks, man. Things that you expect to work and it doesn't work. All right, failover is working for our customers though, which is good, but not so much for our ISP network. So let's just have a look-see. And I might prettify this a little bit. Yeah. So I think you want to you want it for eVPN. So definitely, if they would add eVPN as an address family for BGP on MikroTik, that would be phenomenal. Like that would actually make them a lot more attractive to a lot of service provider type of people, because a lot of service providers this day and age uses eVPN, they use VXLAN, they use that, they want it. And MikroTik sadly just doesn't support it. But maybe one day, you know, never count like against it. But on that same note, you know, I was so excited when I saw they said they're bringing out ISIS on MikroTik, and even though the support is there, I've moaned about this before. But yes, you ISIS kind of works, but it doesn't fully work. And they were supposed to have brought this out last year. December was when it officially, like, support for it came out, and it's still just kind of where it was. It's only in the command line you can access it. It doesn't have all the stuff that you want. It's, I don't know, man. It's like they just made this to shut people like me up, and then they just left it alone again. But who knows, maybe they actually give ISIS as much love as they've given OSPF. But I don't know. Oh wow. That's actually pretty ironic that the first YouTube video is me for the BGP route filters, and I had to Google this stuff again. That's awesome. That's pretty funny. Nah, I'm just good at Googling. I think that's like the joke for most people in IT. Like they just, it's, what's it, that Rick and Morty, is that the show where that Jerry guy goes, he just keeps Googling and just keeps working. So I think that's where I am at. I just Google a lot and I figure it out. Let's just add a small little square. I just want to make these other things look a little bit nicer here. Whoop, where did that disappear to? I've got like something on loop, which is not good for me. There we go. Ah, you're welcome. To be fair, many of the times I was just helping myself also sort out the problem, so we were just documenting how to fix an issue I was actively trying to figure out. What am I looking at now? Oh, the ISP network. We wanted to just sort out some of the BGP routes coming in. So I'm trying to now, I think we could just set the med, but I think med was the lowest value, was preferred over the other one. Let's just have a look at the route reflection again. Route reflection, routing, route selection and filters, yada yada. Let's just go to the bottom if this works with me. I was also thinking about getting more RAM for my computer, since I've also started doing a lot of Juniper labbing. And to be fair, like, those things eat so much resources. It's like 8 gig a node. So I'm really going to, I've got 32 gig of RAM in here, and I can barely run like 5 Junipers at the same time. Then my computer starts like freaking out. So I maybe want it up to like 64. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. Thank you. Let's look, route selection. DDoS protection is wild. So I was looking for med. No, I'm not I don't want to bookmark you. I'm looking for med. Actually, I think it's just MED. Yeah, I should have just looked at the route selection. Ah, sorry for yawning in the microphone. That's actually so silly to do. I don't like doing that. Where's that route selection? Do that. I swear I was just there. Is it with BGP? No. Base path selection. So I should see the path with the lowest med. All right. So what we could do is just go into like CE1, and then we can just add some output filters and attach a med value to PE1 and 3, and then that's how we can kind of tell PE1 and 3 which route they should prefer, which is quite nice, because then we don't need to tweak anything on PE1 and 3. We're kind of letting the CE do that for the provider network. But it's also dodgy if you think about it, because then the customer could kind of like tweak stuff around however they want. But this is working off the assumption that you are in control of the customer edge equipment as well. So CE1. Let's go into our filters. Let's just add a, say, primary out. I think you still need to type the if. Hang on, how is this typed here? If. Then we can say if destination equals, what is this, 192.168.10.0/24. Set BGP, I think it's BGP-med. Let's make it like 100. Or let's make it this, yeah, we can make it 100 actually. 100 is fine. Copy this, call it secondary out. I think it was the lowest med. Sorry, I'm like backtracking now. Med, lowest, okay. So that's fine. So all I'm gonna do now is just, you have to accept to, yeah, you're actually right. Thank you for reminding me. Thank you so much, sir. Accept. Otherwise, it does not do anything. So let's just bind this to our connections. So for our primary connection, in our filters, I can add the output filter as primary out. And in our secondary, we can add the output filter as, you guessed it, secondary out. And now, I think a nice place to see if this is actually kind of doing what I want is if we maybe hop onto the route reflector. I can see these routes there. I might just have to do this in detail, but let's just do a where. Is this destination, or what is this field? Destination address equals 192.168.10.0/24. Let's do that in print detail where. It doesn't populate it in here. Is it actually sending it out? Let me just have a look on the provider edge quickly. Provider edge 3. routing route, print detail where destination. That should be fine. So that's active. Not seeing it there. Let me just quickly look at the route table like such. AS path 300. It hasn't actually tweaked the med. Maybe I just need to refresh the session quickly. Do that from the CE. And let's just see if it's done anything now. Just wait for the routes to come back up or the sessions to come back up. I think I broke something now. Because now I'm not learning the prefixes. It's not always the case, but I've had to do this plenty times with MikroTik where you have to just refresh the session. I mean, there's stuff you can do, like you can also, I've seen people disable, oh, thank you, Diego. I've seen people disable like the rules, so the actual filters, and then re-enable it, and then that also makes it work. But something's busted just now, so let's see what is busted. What did I do wrong? I've obviously done something wrong. So we've got BGP primary out, which is fine. What else? It's probably something with the filter that I have wrong, to be honest. Routing filters. So saying if the destination is this, set the BGP med to 100 and accept. Maybe. Let me just look at the terminal. It's usually easier to see if we did something wrong from the terminal. Routing, filter, export. If I remember, the space isn't really like a big deal breaker, but we can tweak it. Primary out, secondary out. Yeah. I think this is how it's seeing the stuff. Because we are advertising, if I look at my filter list, which still feels weird, doing an address list 192.168.10.0, so that's fine. So if destination equals this, set the med and accept it. Apply outbound filter MikroTik BGP filtering. This is just the normal filter stuff, and this is anyways v6. Using blah blah. Look, I'm pretty sure I've done it. I know I've done stuff like this before. I just don't want to sit and watch myself again. I did it in the previous stream. This is really awkward. Uh, it's definitely something with the filter. Let's make a slight tweak to the filter. I'm not even going to... I want to say I'm not going to specify a destination, but I'm not sure what that would actually do. Routing filter. Yeah. I think that the terminal is definitely superior since you can actually tab for context. Route selections and filters. Lots of stuff on communities though. That's quite nice. Okay, what are our options? Our option is numeric properties. No, I'm not looking for community now. I'm looking to specifically just apply a med. It should be destination. I swear there was one that also says protocol. Maybe we could set this as a connected route, because that is what it's learned from. If destination, if protocol equals connected, invalid argument. Okay, that's interesting. Oh, if protocol BGP. So it's just like a if protocol connected. All right, let's just quickly refresh that. It's just a quick test to see. And does P3 receive the route? It does. Still no mid. I don't know if it's actually taken. Let's just tear this down from the provider edge as well. Okay. It's It's going to be such a silly little filter thing. Yeah, and no. Look, it's not that I could very easily just go into the provider edges and then I could tweak them with some local preferences and stuff, or tweak weights, or a few things we could do from the provider edge to just make the route be preferred from one provider edge over the other. But I specifically want to have med. I want med to be advertised from CE1 to PE3 and PE1, so that the PEs gets that med attribute, so that they can say, hey, okay, this med is this med is that. And then when they advertise that to like the route reflector, or the route reflector should be able to say, okay, this is actually the PE1 is actually the primary. Hello, welcome to the stream again. Let's just quickly have a look-see and see what's happening. Oh, sorry, I just want to read your question. Yeah, you can throw me a suggestion. This is somewhat off topic, but can you ensure that hardware offloading is being used in a CE/PEP routing? Like, would using VLAN interfaces for BGP peering or at any level cause issues? I think hardware offloading still works even if you use stuff like the VLAN interfaces. It just depends how you've configured said VLAN interfaces, if they are part of a bridge, and if hardware offloading is obviously enabled on that bridge that's part of that switch chip. Like that is what it really comes down to if you're using stuff like VLAN filters. But remember, a lot of these new routers also do hardware offloading on layer 3. So you'd have to just check the documentation and see what you're using and if it can be hardware offloaded. But let's say you're using like a sub. I kind of get what you mean. Like, let's say you've added a new VLAN interface, like a physical VLAN interface, and you've bound it to like Ether 1, and you're peering with that, then I think that's not going to get hardware offloaded. But I mean, it's just BGP routes at the end of the day. It's if you wanted hardware offloaded, you'd probably just have to have a look at adding that actual VLAN to the like a bridge and just enable hardware offloading from there. Can you try doing tunnel vision VPN attack simulation on Eve? Yeah, no, you could definitely do that. I mean, I could do it. I'm not sure it's going to happen tonight. There's a few things we want to set up if we want to emulate those type of scenarios, I should say. But previously, you know, since I am definitely a script kiddie, I'm not like a professional hacker or anything like that. I really just go onto GitHub and find like interesting scripts and run the stuff. But we could find some stuff and probably load it up on, you know, what all the cool kids use, like Kali Linux or something, and we could run Kali Linux in Eve, or preferably I just run it on the hypervisor directly and have that hypervisor be in the same cloud network as these Eve nodes, and then we can simulate those attacks as well. So we could do anything. We could DDoS, we can do wacky wild stuff. It's really fun, actually. But then people always make the argument, oh, yeah, but you're not really hacking because you're just hacking your own stuff and you're hacking things that you know there's a vulnerability for, which is fair. Like I said, I'm really just a script kid, so I just try and show people how dangerous some stuff can potentially be, because if I can figure it out, then that definitely means there are really, really smart and scary people out there that like does this stuff for a living. Anyways, I was trying to figure out that med issue. What is wrong? Routing filter. No, definitely. I think it's really a good suggestion. Thanks for making it. I mean, there's so many different scenarios we could potentially cover or figure out. It's really fun. The only thing that usually scares me when I shouldn't say scare me because I don't touch the malware stuff. I don't know if you guys been on YouTube, you might have seen like a YouTuber that might put malware in a sandbox environment. But I've seen stuff where that malware gets loose and it messes up their home network properly. So you need to be very, very careful if you're playing around with some stuff like, you know, malware to see what it does in the sandbox. What was I going for? I was actually going to find. Sorry, I'm feeling that tiredness now. I'm going to ask one of my really good friends if they know why this is happening. And I'll show you who my good friend is in a second. I just want to make sure I don't have anything weird here. All right. Yeah, that should work fine. So look at my friend. Although this friend can make a lot of bad decisions as well, especially when it comes to like RouterOS version 7. I don't think it really has the correct you know, the correct information, but it's worth a try. It usually points in the right direction. How can you create a route filter to change the med value on RouterOS version 7 for a BGP peer? No, not that. This is really like surprisingly, ChatGPT is really smart. That doesn't look right though. Even though this looks right. Although ChatGPT has learned a little bit because it's actually using the right syntax for version 7 here. It never got it right before. Previously it would use like version 6 syntaxes for everything. So that's fine. I mean, this isn't right 100% since it's not using the brackets anywhere. Okay, that's fine. Set BGP med. I'm pretty sure it's not the set dash BGP dash med. So let's just quickly pop back in the terminal. Let's do it from the terminal quickly, step by step. So routing filter rule add chain out to rule. Yeah, for sure, Hugh. If you think about it, like ChatGPT in my mind is just like a smart Google. If you give it the right, if you prod it to the right place, it's kind of amazing with the answers it can give you. But don't trust it blindly. It can lead you down so much BS. It's it's literally I use it like Google, just because it can kind of help you just figure things out a little bit quicker. So our rule is if protocol connected set. BGP dash. Ooh, I see something there. Outmed. Do you guys see that? Because I didn't see that before. Alright, so we've done the set BGP out. Oh, I need to also just accept. I think I need to accept. Oh, I need to set my mid value. So let's make this, what is it, 100? And accept. I think this rule, I think, is the winning rule. Let's just add it first before I go hog wild and add it for the other one. So for primary, I'm just going to add this as out 2. Alright, now I'm not seeing it. Did I mess something up? Oh, I didn't add the quotation at the end. And now we should see it out 2. Alright, so which one did I do? I think I just did the primary, so that should be on PE1. That's true. It's a mixed bag. I personally I love it. I love that everything is on MikroTik because where is it? I don't know where I put it now, but I've got like one of those little HAP minis, and you know, I've configured BGP with that to like big CCRs, like just for fun, but it's cool that you can do that. I mean, you're not going to see people run around with these other consumer grade routers doing those things. I want to go on to PE1 and have a look at our routing route. Print detail where destination is 192.168.10.0/24. And I can see that we've got our mid set. That is beautiful. That's really nice. Although it should actually be set there. Yeah, this is where it's set. That's awesome. I'm happy with that. I'm really happy with that. I'm so freaking happy with that. Did I tell you guys how happy I am with that? So now we can just steal that same rule. Clone you, mister. I don't even know if I need to say the protocol connected here. I've got a feeling you kind of still need to. But let's make it out 3. Let me take out the if. No, you're gonna need some type of, it's a conditional value. You can't not have anything in there. And the reason why I've got if protocol connected, because if you think about this logically, what I've got is I have an IP address bound to Ether 3, which is a connected route. So it is 192.168.10.0/24. It is on this router. It's bound to an interface. So the protocol that I'm advertising this from or exporting from is a connected route. So that makes sense in that instance. If it was BGP routes and I wanted to alter them, then I would use the protocol as BGP or something. And obviously all that we've done is very basically set a BGP out med, where we've said we are applying this attribute to the med value 100, and I want to make 3, maybe 200. Apply that, and then let's add that same filter, well, not same, but the other filter onto the secondary So you, sir, will be out 3. And if we have a look at PE3 now, we should see it in our routes. We should see 192.168.10.0. This is pretty cool. This is really cool. I don't know if you guys see what I'm seeing, but it's already decided now that this other route is also not the base route that it's receiving from the customer. It's kind of like marked it blue, if you can see, and it's deciding to use the MPLS route from PE1 to get to that subnet. That's really cool. That's really solid. I like that. If we look at the route reflector, we should see the what I was trying to show you initially. Am I seeing that there? But that makes sense. That makes sense. I'm not seeing it. But this has just to do with the mid now. All right, I'm fairly happy with what I'm seeing here, because now PE3 is like, okay, cool, that BGP session to get there's a better route for it. PE1 is also, and this is all again just being done from the CECs telling them, hey, this is your meds, you guys decide which one is the better me to get to me. And let's just test the failover quickly. So from CE1, if I run a ping from 10.1, all right, ping is responding, and then all that we need to do to make sure if this is working or not is, I'm gonna hard shut this interface, so ether 2. So on CE1, wait, that was going on to ether 1 on CE1. So on ether 1, I'm just gonna hard, I think this might drop my Winbox session, to be honest, because I see there's traffic running on there. All right, that's fine. The only downside is that we are gonna have to reconnect on Winbox. Let's just connect onto Ramon quickly, get back onto the CE1. Because obviously the MAC address changed when I killed that interface. I might have to just run the ping again. Oh, that's not what I want. I just quickly want to have a look at my sessions. So on PE1, what am I enabling? I want to have a look at my sessions. Okay, I have a very good idea what's wrong, but it's not a us issue. This is more or less that the BGP session is still thinking it is a live. Well, that is just the theory right now. So the moment that hold timer expires and it realizes this primary peer is actually dead, then it should just come up. Let's just test the theory out. If it works, great, because then we know it's that, and there's a way we can fix that. There's a way we can make this a lot faster. Well, there's two ways I can think of making this a lot faster for failover, but let's just first verify that's actually the issue. So we're kind of just waiting for the session to, you know, I can say we're waiting, but I think the whole time is like 3 minutes almost. It's like 180 seconds. That's what I was just alluding to. That was what I was just alluding to, is that we're going to use BFD. That's kind of the point I was going to go to next. So good job mentioning BFD, because that is the one thing we could do, or we could just like tweak around the whole timers and stuff. I'm pretty sure if I just drop the session manually, let's see what it does. I might have to drop it on the PE1 as well, because PE1 is most certainly also still holding that session. and exporting details to the rest of its community. So connection print, disable, what's that, 1? Yeah, let's quickly see now. There we go. Bob's your uncle. So it makes a lot of sense because obviously PE1 is also still having that session to CE1 live, and it's kind of just telling its route reflector, hey, this route is still valid because I haven't actually decided that this connection is down yet. So let's fix it. Let's make it a lot more robust. Let's make it a lot easier and quicker by introducing, well, there's two things we could introduce, but I would go for BFD. I wouldn't really be messing around with the whole timers. I wouldn't make it like 30 seconds because it's going to make it quicker. You can make it a lot quicker by just using BFD, and it's a lot better in my opinion. So let's just re-enable this. Enable 1. And what I could potentially do is also just enable this session, enable the Ethernet 1, and let's configure BFD. So BFD we can just add very easily by going routing BFD, add our configuration. So this is running on Ether 1, Ether 2, so multiplier, we can multiply by 5. And we could set the TX and RX to, I think that is 200 milliseconds. Which is quite reasonable actually, because that would be after a second. But we could make it maybe, what would be a little bit better? Let's time it by, let's make the multiplier 10. And let's do that by 300 milliseconds, because that should then, I think, be 3 seconds for failover. I don't think I need to specify the addresses, if I remember. Let me just quickly apply this. And let's go on to PE3 firstly. Routing BFD, interface, this is Ether 2. I think I need to put in the VRF for the customer here. 300, 300 with a multiplier of 10. Apply this. Let's just see, does any session actually come up or not? Let's just remove it out the VRF quickly. It's been a while since I've added BFD on router S, so I might just scoodle up to the docs quickly. Let's just add it back to the VRF. Was there the address? Did you? I really don't remember that you needed to. Oh. I don't remember if the session only shows up after you add the BFD to the BGP session. Let's just quickly add it there as well. Use BFD, yes. And we're going to do the same on the CE. Routing BGP. Use BFD, yes. Use BFD, yes. All right, but it's still not seeing the session. Okay, so let's just head on to the docs quickly. This should be a quick fix. BFD. Features not yet supported, echo mode, enabling BFD for IP route gateways, authentication. Oh, okay. I haven't changed anything yet, but I do see that the session did come up. It's been up for like 50 seconds, which is good. We've got TX and RX packets. That's really good. Let me just add the BFD on PE1 because I haven't added it here yet. So routing BFD, add. Configuration, add. Interface Ether2, VRF cust1. Multiplier is 10. Min TX 0.3, min RX 0.3. And anything else? No, it doesn't look like it. So routing BFD session. Let's just check there's a session form. I think it will form. We just need to give it a sec. Get it? It's oh wait, I haven't added the configuration on BGP yet. So routing, oops. Routing BGP connection print. It's 1. So we can set. How do you use BFD? Yes, for 1. All right, so that's good. Let's check if the session comes up. And remember that's kind of the nice thing with BFD. You could use it in your core network as well, and it would make like failover and convergence and all that thing a lot quicker. But use it cautiously. If you haphazardly just add BFD, all it takes is one link to just have a bit of a hiccup, and then you might get scared. There we go. Session is up. That's perfect. So if we look at the CE now. All right. I'm not on the CE, I'm on the route reflector there. All right. So now is the real test. I'm running a ping now to the CE2 from CE1. And if we disable interface, so Ether1 again, I think Winbox, where's my session on? It should be on B00. Where's my session? All right. Anyways, what we can do is just disable the interface. Ether1, disable that. Let's see what happens. Obviously, that happens. But what I really want to see is if we log back in, please be quicker. Hello? If I just up arrow, it's already working. But it should work and it should be quick, because BFD would have taken 3 seconds to pick up, hey, there's an issue, let's fix it. And 3 seconds is a very acceptable time for me for recovery. If you want to make it shorter, if you want to keep it like with a multiplier of 5 with 200 milliseconds, that's like a second of downtime, which is even faster. But remember, I'm again stating, use it cautiously. If you're using BFD on stuff like wireless links, you might get some very weird results as well. We could definitely play with the BGP confederation as well. I mean, personally, I would just add a second route reflector with a cluster ID, and there we've got redundancy baked in as well. So that's definitely the move that I would do, but there's no like right or wrong. If you want to use confederation, it's fine. Imagine that. Imagine that. I can tell you somebody would do it. And then they'll like be weirded out. Why is this thing like freaking out and the routes keep disappearing? Nah, man. The world is full of funny people. Alright, but that was pretty solid. Yeah, why is my session flapping? Alright. I'm fairly happy with what we achieved there, guys. That was pretty sick. So we've got failover. CE1 side is pretty much 100%. CE2, I know we need to tweak the meds there, and we also need to introduce stuff like BFD on the links. But this is really, really solid. I'm really happy to see how this has come to life. I mean, I actually wanted to test out Wireguard as well, but we've got like, even though technically we don't have a time limit, I could probably continue a little bit more, but I really want to knock off in the next like 15 minutes because, you know, I'm still a family guy as well, so then I can just at least cuddle up with my wife like for a little bit before I fall asleep. Sorry, I don't want to log out. I don't mean like we're ending the stream yet. So what we could do is I can have a look at the Wireguard stuff. Ooh, those boxes look messed up. I'll have a look at the Wireguard settings again quickly, or get onto the documentation. But while that's happening, like, you guys are more than welcome to chat still, or feel free to ask me a few more questions. Like now is the time before I, you know, end the stream. And I won't end it exactly at, which would be 11 o'clock this time, but yeah. So let's just find the Wireguard configuration, because they've definitely changed stuff with Wireguard. It looks a lot different. I'm gonna have to redo a video on Wireguard. So this is still the same docs touting how awesome Wireguard is. Allowed IPs, that's fine. Nothing really changes there. Peer config. This config still looks exactly the same as before. I'm gonna be honest, the documentation hasn't really changed. But I just want to see, have they added all of these new... what did I click on there? Have they added some of these new client address when imported using a QR code? A QR code. Okay, it's interesting. See you, Vitaly. I think that's how you say your name, Vitaly. Sorry, I used Google Translate, but the best way that I could translate it, because I'm not fluent I'm fluent in like 2 languages, which is English and then my native tongue, which is Afrikaans. And then jokingly, I can understand a little bit of German, but it's really like minuscule. It's not even worth like bringing up. Do you have the lab file? Yes, I do have the lab file, and I can actually look. The main goal is, as soon as this lab is 100%, and you know, we've done a few more things like VXLAN and spanned a few more services, maybe introduce something like a triple PoE type of service that we can offer to customers. There's a few more things I want to add in this lab before I make it publicly available, but I will, when this lab is ready, share it with all of you guys. And I know that I've been sharing like some of the, I'll say the alpha builds almost on a YouTube membership, but it's, please don't join the membership if you just want like a quick to get the lab files now. I'd rather just be patient, wait a couple of weeks and you'll get it, and it's totally fine. But if you want to support, it's fine as well. Is it Johannesburg? Johannesburg? No. So I actually, when I lived in South Africa, I lived very close to Johannesburg. I worked in Johannesburg for a couple of years, but as they would say in South Africa, my valley was actually a place called Pretoria, which it's considered the capital, but it's a weird place. It's lovely. It's full of jacaranda trees, but I mean, I wouldn't be walking alone in the streets if I can put it that way. I mean, I've been through some terrible stuff, like just driving through the city, like multiple like attempted carjackings, where they try and break into your car and like hijack it and steal stuff. And no, man, it's really sometimes that shit is scary. Sorry, I'm like swearing about it, but it's one of those things. But all places have their issues. I'm not gonna be like there's only issues there. All countries have issues. But I think my point was just I wouldn't be going to clubs in the streets in Pretoria CBD. That's you'd probably be a bit foolish if you were doing that. Hmm. So with regards to the WireGuard, it seems like this client stuff. Oh, if we look at the peers, this is for imported config. And then this says something about a QR code. So I'm wondering where you get this QR code. Is it when you set up this back from home VPN thing? Because I know that uses WireGuard as well. Where was it? I think it was in IP services. No, not IP services, IP cloud. Cloud services not supported on CHR free license. I'll see if I can wrangle up. I've got CHR licenses I can move around. I can move some of them into this lab as well and just test with. Show QR code in CLI. Okay, that's quite interesting. Yeah, no, for sure. AfriNIC still has. I I don't mean to like be like, yeah, AfriNIC has all these IPs, but if you compare it to the rest of the developed world, then yeah, AfriNIC has way more like IPv4 addresses available. They still have like full on. I think you can get like /22 subnets for yourself to just deploy however you want. So it's quite nice. Now we'll mess around with WireGuard in a later, like maybe next stream. I'll anyways have to have a look at this QR code business and back to home. And like I said, I'll probably just move some of my CHR licenses into the lab so we can properly test. Although I don't know if how DNS would work into the VM. Doesn't probably matter that much. Man, that's ballsy. Imagine that trying to advertise AfriNIC prefixes out, and you're like, oh, we are members. We're just peering from Europe or Brazil or something. Nah, there's a lot of chance takers. It's just like with BGP, with the general community as well. It's so weird how people can accidentally cause big issues by just not applying, like route filter. Like you saw, like I have to get a refresher with route filters, and if they don't apply their filters properly, they can quite possibly do a lot of damage if they announce the wrong prefixes, or things that aren't theirs, send it out to the general net and they hijack prefixes. And that happens so often, and it's just, I think many times it's just accidental. I don't think, sure there's malicious people doing that, but many times I think it's just an accident. Yeah, most upstreams are very, 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 very tight with their filtering. I guess it also depends exactly who you peer with, and if you're using a tier 1 or tier 2 or even a tier 3 transit provider. That's fair. I mean, I like bogons and I like Martian addresses as well, because I've previously used some Martian addresses in some of my videos. I'm not sure if you guys seen when I use like 192.0.0. whatever, because technically it is available for private use, but it is seen as a Martian address. Can I Google that? 192.0.0/24. Okay, I'm gonna just have to go into Google. But I often use this prefix in like labs and stuff. The Internet Whatever Task Force has protocol assignment. Okay, never mind. Don't use it. You're gonna get arrested if you use it. Well, that's interesting. Just seeing these subnets. And I don't know, I've seen people do this by mistake before as well, when they want to like do something with a default route and they accidentally make it like 0.0.0/24 or something, and then they're like, why is my internet not working? And it's because you didn't define your prefix correctly. I like this. The only thing I don't really like about that's something I might want to go over as well, as like some RFC stuff. But sometimes I feel like that's also such an overload of information. If you look at like what's the MPLS RFC, like 3028 or something, MPLS RFC 3031. Like it's fun to study the stuff and then like writing an exam, and then you've got these RFCs that's just like, it's kind of like a pattern, just like kind of explaining everything. And it's like, I've seen so many people that memorize these RFCs. I don't know how they do it, because for the life of me, I can't. I need to Google this stuff all the time. And then you'll meet like an amazing individual. He's like, oh man, have you heard of RFC this and that? And I sometimes just have to nod and say, sorry, I have no idea. I'll have to Google it, or just tell me what it is, what you're talking about. Because many times, like I don't know. I don't know every RFC off heart. I don't know how many people do, but I've met people that know them like that. Yeah, I think that's for private. I think everybody knows that RFC, but I mean, do you like memorize all of the fine print that's also in the documentation? I don't think so. I mean, you know what a public or what's a private, what's IPv4, what's private IPs, what's this? That's kind of the point I'm making, and it kind of feels like, I don't want to say it's like back in the school days, but you've got like academic smart and you've got street smart and stuff like that, and I don't want to say I'm street smart, but I think I've got more of a feel for how this stuff works than memorizing all of the RFCs and stuff. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Alright, I'm going to start unwinding the stream. So if you guys still want to chat or ask any questions, now's the last couple of minutes. Otherwise, I am just going to start turning off the nodes and unwind a little bit. So even my music stopped. It's obviously this is like a thing that's like saying, hey, now it's time to stop. All right, here you can see I tried to work with some startup configs. The thing that I don't like about using startup configs in Eve is sometimes it breaks things, or sometimes people are impatient and they try and enter the node while it's loading up the startup config and then things don't work. So if I do end up sharing the topologies, you guys will definitely get like exported configs that you'll have to just import yourself. I think that's the safest play when it comes to re-adding these topologies. All right, so that's off. I should have actually taken a quick look at how much resources this was consuming, because I really don't think this consumes. MikroTik is so lightweight. It's so lightweight. It's really nice. I want to check something. I saw EVNG actually had an update. I'm just not sure if it's released yet. Sudo apt update. $383 maybe it's ready, but I saw one of the CEOs and head devs of Eve talk about it quite recently. And it looked good. I mean, it's obviously not like going to be this next groundbreaking thing. It's still going to be Eve. It's just going to have a few nice things in it. I wonder if it's on the website. Let's just quickly check it out. Eve NG. What do we have here? I'm sure it would have been announced, because last time they announced it quite front and center. Announcements. This has been an ongoing joke for a long time. I always get asked, do I use PNetLab? And who posted? Oh, Aldous posted about it. Oh, bless you. Anyways, I understand what PNetLabs does. It's nice because it's very simple and straightforward. You know, you just have the lab images, you import it, and off you go. You don't need to struggle much. But I wanted to see if they updated anything here. I don't see it. Oh well. I read about it on, I think, LinkedIn. Alright, well, that is where I'm going to be calling off the stream. It's been fun, it's been real. I mean, I think we achieved quite a bit. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll wait, what was I saying? I'll catch you in another stream next week, and hopefully I start making some videos again quite soon, like actual videos. That would be fun. I mean, I want to redo the MTCNA stuff specifically, maybe the MTCRE as well, but definitely the MTCNA. There's a lot of new things that needs updating. But I'll catch you guys again soon. Have a good day, evening, wherever you are, and let's get it on.